What is up, guys? It's the Sound Alchemist here, once again with
Gersh1.
And today we're back at it to answer more questions from you guys in another installment of For the Greater.
This is a video series where we answer the questions left by you, the viewer. If you have a question for us, comment down below. Put a question in front of your question because we get to those questions first. Now, if you enjoy our content, if you want to listen to us talk about Warhammer 40K and other random shit forever, you can hit us up with a super thanks. If you do, you will lead a greater WAAAGH, and we will put your question or whatever it is that you comment in the next episode. So thank you ahead of time if you give us a super thanks. But this question comes from
John Smith. His question is, will the 40K galaxy ultimately come down to the Necrons versus the Tyranids, with every other single race being extinct?
To be honest, yes. Based on the lore, the Tyranids seem to be a superpower beyond measure. Like, they are literally covering the entire galaxy with their swarm, based on what Battlefleet Gothic imagery does.
Yeah, that's exactly right. The Tyranids have always been a threat, and let's just remember, this is just a few tendrils of the hive mind. It's not the entire force. So once if and ever the entire Tyranids come to this galaxy, yeah, they're pretty much going to pick it clean, except for the Necrons, because the Necrons hold no biomass for them. So at the end of the day, the Tyranids will not eat them, but they will still fight against them, and the Necrons have some really powerful technology at their disposal. Not just that, but they also have the Catan, and these guys mean business, especially since they're able to self-repair. So when you look at the Orcs, the Imperium, the Tau, I don't think these races are strong enough to hold their own against these two superpowers.
Right, yeah. So at the end of the day, I do think that they're the least weakest, and they will prevail. Right. With an exception or an asterisk with the Orcs. I feel like Orcs are really tough.
They are really tough, but at the end of the day, they're just a food source for the Tyranids.
And yes, and I think that it would be interesting to see if maybe the Orcs and the Tyranid genes kind of just mix together, and then all of a sudden you have Tyranid Orcs.
Tyranorcs.
Towards the end. Ooh, that's a good one. Tyranorcs. Create or kit bash an army of them and let us know how it looks.
Yeah. Now, of course, you do have the caveat of the Imperium being the Imperium, and it's like they're GW's baby, and of course you would want to see them probably be the last one standing at the end of it all, but
I don't know, money talks, so I think right. GW would be like, yeah, we're not getting rid of Space Marines ever, regardless of what the lore is saying.
Yeah, Space Marines version 3.0.
Yeah. Next question comes from YoungHo87. Will GW ever redeem any Traitor Primarchs? If so, which one do you think they will, and which one would you like? Clones don't count.
Yeah, so already we have a clone that is on the Loyalist side, and that is Clone Fulgrim.
Yep.
But I think Magnus, at one point or another, had the most potential to be redeemed. Even now, I feel like he probably won't.
No.
He's gone too far into the deep end after dipping his toe into chaos.
So the way I see it is that the ones that are named Primarch traitors, so Nurgle, Khorne, or
Mortarion, Angron, Magnus, Fulgrim.
Yeah, so those four will never be redeemed because they're too far gone. They've joined the gang, and the only way they're gonna get out is by death.
And they can't even die because their gods bring them back.
Yeah, exactly. And then you have Perturabo. Lorgar, and what's the Night Hunter guy?
Conrad Kurz, who's dead.
Yeah, and the Alpha Legion guy.
Yeah.
So I think out of those four, the most likely to be redeemed would be the Double Crosser.
Yeah, Alfarius and Omegon. One of them's dead, maybe.
Maybe.
Yeah, we don't know who.
Yeah, but he would be redeemed in terms of not GW, but the Emperor going, ha, he was always on our side. Yeah. So I think that is the closest thing to a redemption.
Yeah. Who I want to be redeemed is maybe Conrad Kurz. Yeah. Maybe he didn't really die by that assassin, and he's just been working in the shadows to combat chaos, or maybe combat the Imperium in a way where he kills the Emperor, but it was the Emperor's scheme. You know how he let himself die? Maybe it's the Emperor letting himself die so that the Imperium can flourish. So they'll still forever see Kurz as a bad guy for killing the Emperor, but it was his sacrifice that led humanity to prosper.
Yeah, I really do think that at the end of the day, those two are probably the most cool.
Yeah.
Because Lorgar, the whole religion thing was too much, and then Perturabo, he literally fought Rogodorn. That's a a vengeance, or what is it called? Like
they've got a rivalry that probably won't go away.
Yeah, once you form resentment, it stays forever unless you have a heart that forgives, which is hard. Next question.
This one was by Juan Jose Mendivil. Was the Emperor secretly nerfed during 30K? Was guiding warp travel the hard way out without using the Golden Throne?
I don't think he was necessarily nerfed. I do think that he had a lot on his plate.
Yeah, the dude was fighting in real space. The dude was fighting in the warp. The dude was leading the Astronomicon. He was also trying to get this Webway project done. He had a lot that he had to be doing. And I think, if anything, this is where we see him be the strongest.
Yeah.
During the Great Crusade. Because he's also fighting. He's doing a lot.
But like they always say, if you can't have me at my weakest, you don't deserve me at my best. I think the Emperor was at his weakest during 30K and arguably now.
Mm-hmm.
So until you can have like Alexander the Great, you need to like continue to worship the Emperor.
Yeah, yeah.
The God Emperor. Does that answer his question?
I hope so.
Next question comes from World7777. Is there any sign or hint of a horned rat in 40K?
So basically the Skaven. Will the Skaven make an appearance in 40K? I mean, you have like rat-like creatures already in the lore. Obviously they don't have their own like faction or anything really pointing that they'll become a major threat. But they're here.
Yeah, I think ultimately they might be a faction that gets talked about in, like, what's the one with the kill team? Oh, kill team?
Yeah.
Or Necromunda.
Right.
But I think as far as an actual god, no, probably not.
Yeah.
And also, like, we don't know too much about fantasy. So
Right.
I don't really know what the rat, what is it called?
The Great Horned Rat.
What does it represent? Because like every single of the 4 chaos gods represent an emotion. What does the horned rat bring to the table?
Yeah.
And if it's just chaos, it's just Malao.
True.
Next question.
Brian BBBBB. Do you think the lion should have stayed young, or is the old lion better?
We've had this question before. We think that old is the new young. So yeah.
Yeah, old is gold. He looks more distinguished, more regal.
And gold never folds. So
That's true.
next question.
Benjamin Manning, do you think Malkador could beat a Primarch in a fight? That's interesting, because Malkador, he's not a fighter, he's not a combatant, but he's a really powerful psyker. So I think he can definitely pull some tricks out of his wizard sleeve to combat the Primarchs in different ways. But if the Primarchs ever get up close and personal and his like psychic defenses are down, then yeah, he's not surviving.
Yeah, Malkador is definitely like a end of game boss where he's like on a throne, and in order to get to him, you have to jump through like a whole bunch of hoops.
Yeah.
Kind of like the ending of God of War, right? I think it's God of War. Or no. Which one's the one where like you're a little boy and you're trying to kill like Goliaths?
Oh, Shadow of the Colossus.
Yeah, like Shadow of the Colossus, the last one. It's like this giant epic thing, and you have to climb up to kill him, and like that kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. But yeah. And then next question comes from the big one, 6071. Oh, he added numbers. I want to ask this girl out since she always smells like baby powder, while I always smell like onions. So it would be a case of opposites attract, right? Baby powder and onions, I don't feel like are opposites.
No, they're definitely two different smells.
Yeah. I think I'd just work on your smell first.
Yeah, get that onion stench off, because nobody likes onions.
No.
At least not Shrek. Oh no, Shrek does.
Yeah.
Because they have a bunch of layers. So maybe you're a very like deep dude and you have all these layers protecting you. And you got to shave and get that off of you with a nice clean shower. And
find your Fiona, because eventually, like, you need to find someone that's gonna love you for you, the good, the bad, the nasty. Although I would say, like, just try to wash.
Yeah.
Wear cologne, maybe. Good question though. Next one.
Revolver says, how long can Games Workshop keep the Imperium alive? It's like they've been slowly dying, or maybe at some point they'll reach a critical point where the Imperium will either die or survive. What do you think? When do you think that's going to happen? 50K? Also, how?
Probably tomorrow.
Yeah, the Imperium has been dying for a long time, but I mean, so have the Eldar, and they haven't died. The Imperium's always like on the edge. It's like, are they going to lose or are they going to win? And then something happens where they get the upper hand, and then something happens where they're losing again. So it's just a huge cycle where there's no real death and decay, but then there's no real comeuppance, I guess.
Right.
But I think the Imperium will have enough of this cycle going where they're in this just stagnant like plateau where it's like, oh, there's a new Primarch, but then, oh, Chaos got even stronger. Oh, there's another Primarch returning, but then Chaos has this thing going on. So I don't think they'll ever die out completely, but they'll never regain their former glory.
Right. They'll never be as good as the Golden Age, even though in the Golden Age they weren't as powerful. So I think that's one of the weird things about the Imperium, where, like, on paper, or in the lore, they're supposed to be like backwards and not as strong, but in reality, they're taking on orcs, they're taking on Tyranids, Necrons. They're putting up a front everywhere.
Yeah,
that means that they're strong. So
right.
Yeah, good question.
Yeah, it's like a case of if I punch myself and it hurts, am I strong or am I weak? You're the Imperium.
There you go.
Yeah, that's all we got, guys. Very interesting questions. Keep those questions coming. And, of course, put question in front of your question because we get to those questions first. That's a lot of questions in my last minute of talking. But, yeah, go ahead and like the page, comment, subscribe, Patreon, super thanks, that kind of thing. As always, it's the Sound Alchemist.
Gershwan.
And we are out of here.
Always used to put my freedom first in any situation.